So whereas the notion of a carbon tax was, the T word tax is just like, the third rail of US politics. But that's emerging, but not because of carbon per se, but because the government needs to balance the budget.
2014, we have Chrystia Freeland on a panel talking the truth. And the truth is that a carbon tax is just a tax grab. It has nothing to do with any greenhouse gases or anything. It's all a joke. And she also says by 2050, there's no way green energy will ever replace the world's needs, and they must use fossil fuels and liquefied natural gas. They must do it. There is no way. Let's have a listen to her true self before all the politics and the big money that entered her whole system. Anyway, thanks for watching too. Like and subscribe, and let's watch this.
I wonder whether we're actually at sort of a pivot point where fossil fuels are coming back, huge natural gas discoveries in the United States. We're seeing now oil sands, we're seeing the Brazilian discoveries, and we're seeing it reflected in the price. I was at the end of last week at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. Shell representatives were there in force. And the big preoccupation there was not, are we running out of fossil fuels? The Russians are worried that there's too goddamn much of it on the market right now, and the prices are too low, and they were bitching about the excellence of the US companies that are finding a lot of it. Gazprom, the mighty Russian gas producer, is now saying, Jesus Christ, the Americans have a lot of gas now. So I would like you, Russ, to comment on this and talk about what impact that's going to have on the politics. Because, if we find that our fossil fuels are a lot cheaper, and this economic pressure that we had really been worrying about, certainly up to 2008, that pressure is gone. Aren't we going to forget about these issues for a while?
I'm personally a guy that I don't like sound bites as a rule, but I do believe in the all of the above strategy, because I don't think renewables can get to a major portion of the supply of world demand by 2050 and completely displace fossil fuels.
Okay, so Alexis is wrong. We're not going to be off fossil fuels in 2050.
I think it's going to be a challenge. I think you're going to have. I think it would have to have a growth that is unprecedented in any other energy development that we have ever seen. You take wood, coal, petroleum products of any kind. The growth rate that you have to have would be unprecedented. I think you have to continue to try, but I think we also have to be very realistic and recognize that coal and natural gas, no matter where that natural gas is produced, from Russia to supply Europe or within our own borders, which has been a real economic change for this country, it's going to have to be produced to meet the energy demand of the population in 2050. We need efficiency, we need more supply, and if we continue on the rates that we've gotten both, we have an unsustainable gap that we will not be able to fill. So we're going to need the efficiency end, and we're going to need more resources, and it can't just be alternative.
My name is Jamie Cox, and full disclosure, I work for Shell, and I am an evil big oil lobbyist. So I guess my question here is, how can we, having been on the government side, are there things that we're not doing that we should be doing?
Okay, excellent. Let's start with that one. Richard, how can Shell lobbyists educate government officials better?
I think that there are places that are maybe emerging where there's, politically feasible areas where progress could be made. Unclear if that'll happen at this point. So a big thing on everybody's mind is the fiscal situation, balancing the budget.
In this economic climate, how committed to a balanced budget would you be right now? Would it worry you to go into deficit in this current climate to, as you say, put more people to work?
The commitment needs to be a commitment to grow the economy, and the budget will balance itself.
Right. So whereas the notion of a carbon tax was, the T word tax is just like, the third rail of US politics. But that's emerging, but not because of carbon per se, but because the government needs to balance the budget. But not because of carbon per se, but because the government needs to balance the budget, right? And if you can do that in a way that actually makes the overall tax system more efficient, which you could potentially do, there's maybe an opportunity.
Doesn't it look like this whole thing is just a game, a real board game of Risk or Black Mirror episode? So there's too much fossil fuels on the market, so what they need is less. And all of a sudden, by 2015, when Trudeau comes in, he's the one that wants to shut it down. He followed exactly what Russia wanted, and the Middle East for that matter, to build that building that goes in the middle of nowhere forever. Don't you think those are the ones that benefit from it? If it's not every country in the world having a carbon tax, even China, Saudi Arabia, and Russia, that Canada can't be some glorious leader, a model for everything, because all that happens is destruction in that country. And that's exactly what's going on. And it really makes you think, too, if she's in St. Petersburg in Russia, because she has very close ties to Ukraine and Russia, Freeland, that is exactly what they wanted the world to happen in 2014. And the Liberal Party delivered 100%. They delivered exactly what that was. And even that guy talking about the budget will balance itself, that is exactly what Trudeau did when he came in. He just stopped everything. He stopped that reckless spending. To catch up with the spending, they need a carbon tax, and that carbon tax will go up forever. It will not lower any greenhouse gases. You have Stephen Guilbeault bragging about 20 megatons or whatever like that. Is he still on the COVID data or something again? Because there is no way per capita, if there's 1.3 million Canadians coming in a year, it has to go up. It's impossible what he's talking about unless construction slows down, and construction actually makes more greenhouse gases. So it's the exact opposite of what you think. It's just the lies just have to keep going and going and going as long as possible. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.